Good morning, class. We got a brand new book today. It's called Call It Courage. Now this one, print is pretty small. Now, I didn't send this one home. I'll put it under the camera. If you can see the words, read along with me. If not, you can just listen to it. Now this one, a couple things about this book. First of all, you see this medal on it. This is called the John Newbery Medal. It's an award for what? For the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children. In other words, this book is one of the top books that you can read. It got this award because it's so good for kids to read. With that being said, there's a few parts of this book that are a little strange. First of all, we are going to have some Native American groups who live on islands, and this setting would happen a long time ago. So no motorboats, they have canoes, and they also have some religions that are false compared to what we believe. And so they have some strange things in there as far as their religions and the rituals that they do in their religions, as well as some not scary, but some intense moments where the kids got to face the do or die. And when we talk about that in literature, that's called the plot. The height of the plot is the do or die. Are we going to solve the mystery or not? Are we going to escape from the shark or not? And so there's some pretty cool parts in here from that story. Here's what the New York Times says about it. Now, if you guys remember from our social studies test, you were supposed to write like you were a famous person or a famous magazine. And so see, this is how they do it on books. The title is Call It Courage. The author up here is Armstrong Sperry. And it says, the New York Times says, like all hero legends, Mufatu story has a strength and simplicity that applies to a wide range of age. Well, let's find out about it. Mufato, and there's some names in here of some of these Indian groups that I may not pronounce correctly, but this is the best I got. Mufatu has been afraid of the sea for as long as he can remember. Though his father is the great chief of Haikuro, an island whose seafaring people worship courage, Mufatu feels like an outsider. So his dad's like the top guy there. He's like the most important person in the whole village, and yet this kid's afraid of the sea. Now, the sea is pretty important to these people. They're sea-bearing or seafaring people. That means they get a lot of their food from the sea. Then at age 15, no longer willing to put up with the ridicule or the jibes, Mufatu decides to take his fate into his own hands. With his dog, Yuri, as his companion, Mufatu paddles out to sea, ready to face his fears. What he learns on his lonesome adventure will change him forever and make him a hero in the eyes of his people. Well, let's get into this story here. The first chapter is entitled Flight. It happened many years ago, before the traders and the missionaries first came into the southern sea. While the Polynesians, those are the natives that lived there, were still great in numbers and fierce of heart, which means they had a lot of courage. But even today, the people of Haikura sing this story in their chants and tell it over the evening fires. It is the story of Mufatu, the boy who was afraid. They worshipped courage, those early Polynesians, the spirit which had urged them across the Pacific in their sailing canoes before the dawn of recorded history. Not knowing where they were going, no caring what their fate might be, still sang its song of danger in their blood. There was only courage. A man who was afraid, what place did he have in their midst? And the boy Mufatu, son of Tavana Nuai, the great chief of Haikuro, always had been afraid. So the people drove him forth, not by violence, but by indifference. Now, indifference means you just don't care very much. If you're falling down on on the playground and you're hurt and you're crying, I'm going to rush over there, help you up, see if you need a Band-Aid on your scrape or your bruise, see how you're doing. If you fall down the playground and I pretend I didn't see it happen and I look the other way and I don't care much about you, that means I was indifferent about the situation. Mufasa went out alone to face the thing he feared the most, and the people of Hikira still sing his story in their chants and tell it over the evening fires. So you can see that was an introduction, kind of like the back of the book. That was the introduction to this story. And now you see this little space in here. Now it's a time gap. Now this is going to be like, we're actually starting the story now after the introduction. And we will actually start the story tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing you then.